You found Paul at his BlindHawg barbecue. In today's video, we're using the tip-top temp grill regulator on my offset smoker. Now, I'll discuss the tip-top temp. I'll talk about some of the pros and cons of using it, and I'll show you how I set it up on my Goldee's backyard smoker. The tip-top temp grill regulator is a mechanical device. It mounts right on top of the vent, the damper, or the stack of your grill or smoker. Now, as far as I know, they're primarily designed for use with charcoal, and you can use them on offset smokers. It's not designed to use with propane, and I don't know of any applications of using it with the pellet smoker either. The tip-top uses a bimetal coil to open up a damper valve as it reacts to the heat and the airflow that vents from your grill or smoker. At the heart of the tip-top is the TTT-03, and I think all the models come with this part, and the other included parts are just for adapting it to a particular size opening. You have to make a series of adjustments to gain control of the temperature, and then the tip-top gives you detailed control that you normally wouldn't have. The tip-top temp is a very simple device, and in my opinion, it also has a very moderate price, and I love using it. Now, I decided to try the tip-top temp on my Char-Griller Akorn Kamado, and it turned out it worked so well that I made my installation semi-permanent. I sealed the unit in place by using a bead of food-grade RTV silicone. And typically the tip top's just sitting on top of the vent or stack, or it can be temporarily clipped in place so you can remove it whenever you're not using it. Now, during my research on getting the tip top for my Kamado, I discovered that you could also put one on the offset. Who knew? We do need to keep in mind that using the tip top on your offset smoker, it's no doubt going to change some of the cooking characteristics that your offset has. So all smokers don't cook the same to start with. And the size of your smoker, how far the meat is from your firebox, and the amount of airflow that your smoker has, that's two of the major factors in determining the cooking characteristics. And the tip top is going to change this somewhat. It's going to make it a lot more oven-like. Using the tip top is going to restrict the airflow somewhat. That's how it works. Will it adversely affect the flavor of the meat? Will it make it bitter? Now, your smoker is going to definitely have some more oven-like characteristics, but you will ultimately have to determine the best way to use it in your particular setup with your particular smoker. Now, you could consider not using the tip top during the first part of the cook, and then you could finish your cook with it. And one reason for using it would be because it will burn less wood, it'll burn less charcoal, and then your smoker would require a whole lot less attention. Yes, the tip top will make your smoker more fuel efficient. Now, if you try the tip top on your offset, just remember that your results can vary widely from mine, unless you're using a Goldee's backyard smoker like I am and have it set up just like I do. I ordered the model TTT-03 CR6. I got mine from Amazon, and I will leave Amazon links in the description area below the video. This unit comes with the TTT-03, which is the bimetal coil with the damper valve. It's also got a 5-inch adapter ring, and then it has a piece of what I call gasket material, and it includes the red silicone band that looks kind of like a large rubber band. You don't really get any instructions for installing it on offset. And I think Tip Top could do a better job here. They could also do a better job in general of just directing you to the correct model for the various smokers. They could and they should make it a little bit less confusing. Now, the stack on my smoker is slightly larger than 6 inches. I'd already convinced myself that I did not want the Tip Top to be permanently attached in any way to my offset smoker. So I set it up so that it would just sit on top of the stack while I'm using the smoker while it's up and running, and it could be very easily removed whenever I wanted to. Now, that piece of gasket material, that's what I'm calling it, it wraps around the outside of the 5-inch adapter. That expands this thing so it'll fit on the 6-inch pipe. And I used packaging tape to temporarily secure it in place. Note that the gasket is not lined up with the bottom of that 5-inch adapter. And this is so that the adapter will sit inside the stack. The 5-inch part goes inside the 6-inch stack. So next I took a 24-inch heavy-duty cable tie. I tightened it around the middle of all this. And the cable tie that I got it from Harbor Freight. I happen to have left that red silicone band in place on the 5-inch adapter, but now that I think about it, that was probably totally unnecessary. If I did it again, I probably would not use the red silicone band. Now, the next thing I did, I used the food grade RTV. I put a bead around it to secure the 5-inch adapter to the gasket material. And I did it on both sides. I did it around the top, flipped it over, I did it around the bottom. And then I let that RTV cure several hours. Now, once it all cured up, I removed the cable tie. I just pushed it off. I didn't cut it or anything. And I removed the packaging tape, threw that in the garbage. Now, the RTV seemed to be holding everything in place, but it hadn't cured that long, so I really didn't trust it. So I was a lot more comfortable just reinstalling that cable tie. I just slipped it back on, tightened it up a little bit more, and that's what I got now. So whenever I get ready to use this, I'll just set it on top of the stack. The stack design on my Goldees, it doesn't interfere with the tip top in any way once you've got that damper wide open on the Goldee smokestack. And my smoker has a 6-inch stack for a reason. It's because it draws a whole lot of air. I think that it's best for me to fire up the smoker without the tip top in place. I just light it off, I get a good cold bed established, and then I start using the tip top. Smokestack on my Goldee smoker, it's on up there. It's about 8 feet high, and I have to use a stool so I can get up there and make the adjustments, but it's really not a big deal. But it does make it difficult to film because I can't set up a tripod that high. Also, I like to use my Fireboard 2 Pro temperature controller with the probe mounted at great level on my smoker. And the primary purpose of this is to give me almost immediate feedback on the temperature. So the digital, it's just miles ahead of the analog gauge in this regard. Okay, all that being said, I'm using the tail true as my cooking temperature. 275 degrees is my target, and the tail true is easier to observe, and the Fireboard is just for observing the immediate temperature trend. When I make an adjustment, I can look at that digital. Did it go up? Did it go down? And how fast is it changing? But my actual cooking temperature is going to be the tail true, 275 degrees. All right, the instructions for using the tip top, they coach you up a bit. They teach you how to use it from a startup. So the basic information is to open up the damper valve, heat it up, reopen that damper valve as needed, keep that temperature coming up, and then you close that damper valve down to 90% whenever your temperature is 50 degrees below the desired temperature. So the tip top will control by limiting the airflow. The bottom vent position depends on your smoker. You want to start with your bottom vent open 50% or less. Like I said, I'm not installing the tip top for the startup on my offset. I think it would choke it down too much, so we're going to have to do it a little bit different. And it just boils down to you open up that damper to raise the temperature, you close the damper to lower the temperature. And if the tip top damper adjustments can't bring that temperature into range, then you adjust the bottom vent as you need to. And you could consider just adding straight charcoal instead of wood to your firebox, and this would give you some lengthy uninterrupted burn time, and it might work really well for finishing a brisket for that second part of the cook like we talked about. Okay, let's see how the tip top performs in real life. I'm starting out with a clean firebox. I'm adding some B&B charcoal briquettes right in the middle. I'm using a medium split of red oak on each side of the charcoal. And then finally I added 2 sticks of kindling, or you could use 2 small sticks of wood. You put those perpendicular to your splits, and then add 2 more perpendicular to those, then add a 3rd row on top, perpendicular to the 2nd row. Just give it your normal startup. All right, the damper on the Goldee smokestack is fully open. The firebox vent's fully open. And I'm using this Greenwood propane torch with a built-in starter button. It makes lighting off my Goldee smoker really, really easy. And it uses a regular 5-gallon propane tank for fuel. Get that cold bed established first once it gets going good. Then you place the tip top on top of the stack. So you need to wear thermal protection, and the damper of your tip top should be fully open so that heat can pass through and not be deflected onto your hands when you're placing it on top. So with the tip top installed, you need to close that damper valve to lower the temperature, give it some time to line out, and if the temperature remains too high, then make small adjustments, closing the firebox door as needed. If the temperature is too low, open the tip top damper as needed, and you'll find that you'll dial it right in. Always wear that thermal protection, like I said, whenever you're up there messing with that damper. Now guys, this is how simple the tip top is to use. Now, does everybody need one? Of course they don't. But it does make a great tool for making great barbecue. And how you use it depends on what you want it to accomplish. If you want more precise temperature control, if you want better fuel efficiency, then maybe you consider trying the tip top temp on your offset. Now all you got to do is hit that like button on your way out. Please consider subscribing, and I hope to see you next time at Paw Daddy's BlindHawg Barbecue.